welcome to everyone of this second episode of Gupshup with Gil. Today we have someone who's covered the sport uh, even in a different era. We've when we talk of long-lasting people in sport, we talk of Sachin Tendulkar, we talk of Leander Pace, we talk of all these guys. But and we have a lot of stories to discuss about these people, but we certainly sometimes don't think about the people who bring us these stories. Today, I have one guest with me, Mr. Vijay Lokapalli, sir of The Hindu, who's been covering sports for 40 years, 15 years more than what I have been on this planet. So I feel very privileged that he's come on this show and chose to discuss about his journey, what he feels about sports journalism, and various views about sports, life, and how all these things go together. Welcome, Vijay Lokapalli, sir. Hope you're doing well, and very happy to have you on the show here.
Thank you, Gurkirat. And it's a lovely title you have picked, Gupshup with Gil. So we'll have a good Gupshup and let it be a very conversational show rather than you asking me questions. Be prepared. I'll also ask you a few tough ones. So it's great. The thing is, if you're alive, consider yourself very privileged because of the pandemic. Uh, Most of us have lost our lot of close loved ones, close friends. I have suffered. The last few days have been extremely heartbreaking. Losing people from the fraternity and from the cricket field. So these are tough times for all of us, and we are in it together, and we'll come out of it together.
Thank you, sir. They are very encouraging words, and I hope whosoever watches this show, feels that we do care about their loss, and we'll obviously, pray for the departed souls and hope that the families get the strength to deal with it. And like you said, hopefully all of us make it out of this together and with the help of each other. So I'll begin, by asking you about how did you, venture into the field of sports journalism? From what I know, that you covered your first Test match in 1981. That was 15 years before I was born. That was even before. That was before there was color TV in India. That was before the Asian Games, which were held in Delhi in 1982. It was 8 years before Sachin Tendulkar made his debut. So we're talking of 40 years ago. So how was the space of sports journalism and broadcasting then, and what was your motivation or inspiration to venture into that field?
You see, Gurkirat, I used to play cricket and I loved cricket. I loved cricketers. Like many of you who collected pictures and paper cuttings of our heroes, I used to do that. My room was splashed with posters from Sports Week and Sports Star magazine, Sports World magazine. So I was a cricket fanatic. Uh, I mean, I could do nothing other than cricket. So those were very different days. Access to cricketers and access to information were two different things. You could go and walk up to the player, even as a cricket fan. It was something very memorable. I can never forget just walking up to Mr. Sunil Gavaskar or Mr. Vishnu Singh Bedi and saying hello to them whenever they played in Delhi. So it was an era when you wanted to, like even today we were also very ambitious. If you couldn't play cricket, I thought was what was the best way for me to connect with the sport. So that was through writing, and I used to write. There was a newspaper called The Patriot. I used to give profile young sportsmen, not just cricketers. They had a series, so I must have written on some 100 odd players who went on to some went on to play for the state, some went on to play for the country. And not just cricket, like I said, it was football, badminton, table tennis, hockey. So it was a children's magazine called Children's World, and the editor there, he spotted my writing in the Patriot newspaper, so he offered me, would you like to cover a test match for us? Imagine to I had not even covered the Ranji Trophy match for the Patriot newspaper. So it was a wonderful opportunity he provided. I covered the test match, India versus England, and at the Ferozshah Kotla, met some very iconic cricket writers. I was inspired by them. And then, of course, the Asian Games also happened. But the turning point of my career was like I've put out this letter to my mother on Twitter today. She gifted me a test match ticket, India Australia in 1969, that triggered my feelings to become a journalist or maybe to write on the sport. And then when Mr. Bishan Singh Bedi retired, I wrote a letter. I dashed off this letter to two newspapers. They published it. Mr. Bedi saw the article. He wrote to me on a piece of. I mean, I still preserve that appreciation letter. Uh, and then I realized if my first big write up, if somebody like Mr. Bedi has appreciated, so I thought I might have a future. I mean, I just kind of. And then when I met him, he encouraged me to write more. So that was the turning point. If I became a journalist, credit goes to my mother because she kept my interest in the game alive by buying me a ticket for 26 rupees. Gurkirat, it was quite an amount, and it may not mean anything to you today, but 26 rupees in 1969 was very difficult. And then of course Mr. Bedi. Mr. Bedi has been the biggest influence on me as far as cricket is concerned.
Rupees at that point of time was genuinely a very huge amount. To if you, I don't think any amount of mathematics or that scaling can sort of justify that price and what your mother would have done. So credit goes to her. Because of her, we got a very good sports journalist who's paved the way for a lot of other budding sports journalists to come in. And as far as Mr. Bedi is concerned, so I consider it as my misfortune that I've never watched him play. But from whatever I have seen him in interviews and the articles he's written, he genuinely seems to be someone who's very clear with his thought process and is very outspoken. He's never the one to mince any kind of words, and that's something which is so rare to see from a public figure these days. He's really outspoken, and I tend to agree with most things that he said. Like he speaks as to how he said one thing which I've always sort of agree with him. He says that a good cricketer can be a one who's a good student of the game, and a good administrator can be one who can be a good servant of the game. So I think these things that he said have always stayed with me, and it's something that I like look to inculcate in my life as well. That probably it will take me somewhere. But yes, yeah, you're right about Bishan Singh Bedi. He has a great command on his language as well. So he definitely would have spotted
Yeah.
something for you to give that appreciation. Uh, you mentioned that you've not only covered cricket but a lot of other sports as well. You mentioned football, hockey, tennis. So I'd want you to share a few anecdotes from each sport that you've covered as to what has been a long lasting story. You've already discussed about covering your first cricket game. Uh, Talk us through about covering your first football game or your hockey game or some other sport.
Football at the Ambedkar Stadium was not just for me. Many of my contemporaries, winters were spent at Ferozshah Kotla, Ambedkar Stadium for football, and Shivaji Stadium for hockey. So these three were our destinations, and the season would go flying by. The winter season you would cover sometimes matches in extremely cold conditions, and then sometimes in sunshine. The sun you would feel good, and to cover these three sports was a privilege because football was very competitive. We got to see some of the greatest players at the Ambedkar Stadium, and a very compact arena where you are literally at a distance where you can converse with the players. You can listen to their conversation when they're on the field. And same goes for hockey. Hockey also, Shivaji Stadium was it gave you such a beautiful view. And these two robust sport. I mean, if you look at cricket, is a kind of a laid back sport compared to hockey and football. But I was so privileged to watch some of the greatest hockey players. Interacting with them was another lifetime experience for me. That there were life lessons for me when I met Ajit Pal Singh ji, when I met Zafar Bhai, Mohammad Shahid, I mean, iconic names from the world of hockey, and Shri Balbir Singh ji, who passed away.
Last year.
Yeah, and he was a big influence, and he taught us. I mean, he would make us sit, and he would talk to us about hockey. He would try and tell us about how the game has changed. So it was, we learned at the feet of these great sportsmen. Similarly in football, similarly in cricket. So I was extremely fortunate, Gurkirat, that I was born in an era when where we could just walk up to these great champions and strike a conversation, which unfortunately you can't do it with most of them today, because they're very guarded, and rightly so, because they don't know what kind of journalists they're speaking to, and cricket especially are out of bounds, which is a very sad happening.
Like, you rightly mentioned, like when I was growing up, there was a lot of hockey that you could watch on TV. My grandfather, being a very huge fan, we used to watch. But now, you really are you don't get a lot of hockey on TV. I think the last hockey game that I saw on TV was the World Cup in 2018, which fortunately I had the good fortune of covering it from the stadium also. So I can totally understand when you talk of hockey being a very robust sport. I think just to run for 70 minutes with your back bent is something that requires a lot of toughness and a lot of fitness. It's sort of unfortunate, and you could probably say a bad luck that the sport has fallen in the eyes of the normal Indian audience. Hopefully it gets back to its glory days once again, and when the team goes to Japan this year for the Olympics, hopefully they have a podium finish, because it's been quite long since we ended up with a podium finish in Olympics as well. uh, Another thing.
Yeah.
So
Sorry, go on. Yeah.
yeah, another thing that I wanted to say was, you were mentioning how today sports persons don't know what kind of a journalist that they are interacting with. Do you think that as a sports journalist, one of the very important virtues or values is, you need to gain the trust of the player? Do you think it's a very important thing?
Most important thing, not very, most important, because what should I say? Um, it is matter of trust and your reputation. You build it over a period of time. And how do you build it? One is through conversation with them. They they come to know you, or through your writing, when they read your reports. So the best way is to win their heart with your writing, because it that kind of will convince them that it is, this guy understands the subject. He presents the game as accurately as possible. Because for me, Gurkirat, at the end of my career, I could take pride in one fact, that nobody ever contested my writing. They never said, I was never accused of misquoting a player, right? And also misreporting, because credibility is very important, Gurkirat. It is very important, and it takes years to build your reputation, and that, like I said, it comes through your writing, it comes through your mm, conversations with the players.
I get that. Another, so you mentioned about when you call it a day in your career. I hope that you never do, because a lot of people enjoy your writing and your views. So I hope that day never comes again. But I think you make a very good point that it's important that the players understand that whosoever is writing on them, be it the praise or the criticism, he or she understands the sport and is not doing out of some spite. Because sometimes you do come across a few articles where you sort of feel that maybe the criticism is unconstructive and probably a little out of line, and that tend to, and in today's times when there is so much of social media access and so many platforms, it can really affect the likes of young players, like how Prithvi Shaw spoke. Like after the Australia tour, all of it took a toll on him, all the criticism and everything. So if so, what would you like to suggest to any budding sports person who's going through a tough patch, that should they shut themselves off social media and shut themselves off all criticism, or should they sort of accept it that it's a part and parcel of being a sportsman today?
I think today's sportsman is under intense scrutiny. One is because of the television, of course, the ever-present, what should I say, media, where somebody you can just pull out your telephone and and record an event, right? It was not happening in my time. You just can't just pull out. I mean, just start video recording something. So for them, it is very difficult to be at their best behavior always. They will make a mistake. They are human beings, but what happens is that that little departure from good behavior is caught on camera or reported in the media. The idea is that the journalist is trying to be different. How will he be different? Either he writes good or he writes bad, right? He comes up with this gossipy rubbish. So players are under pressure, so they have to guard themselves against this social media. It can help them reach out to so many fans, and it can also help them damage their reputation when they are exposed to so many fans. So they will. It always helps to accept criticism, because not everyone is always trying to be personal in the criticism. So it is an area, Gurkirat, where the role lies with the administrators. At the beginning of the season, they should apprise the players that look, this is how it's going to be. You will not always be praised. There will be criticism also. It is, Gurkira, just like how the umpires prepare for the season. You know how they prepare? They have their own list of bowlers who are troublemakers. So they share it among themselves, and they tell each other, look, Gurkirat is the one who oversteps always, so you have to be very careful with his no ball. And Vijay Lokapalli is terrible with his appealing. He will appeal for every ball, so don't take his appeals very seriously always. So these are little things they share among themselves. And so similarly, players also would know which journalist to trust as far as criticism is concerned. But yes, it helps if the player learns to accept the fact that yes, he has made a mistake and he has to improve.
Oh, makes sense. I think that's a very measured response and sort of covers all the areas, because not everyone can always be completely objective in their assessment. Also, all the sports in a way, when you look at them and when you assess them, there's a little amount of subjectivity also, because numbers, like always, don't do justice in measuring a performance. And if you look at sports like football and hockey, there a lot of times numbers won't even tell you anything, because how do you judge someone who's playing in the midfield, or or playing as a central defensive midfielder? So it's always difficult to for anyone to be 100% spot on. So you're right about that players also need to understand that maybe, okay, a certain journalist will assess it differently and some other journalist would do it differently. Moving on,
Yeah.
so I'd like to know from you. So you've probably, like I said, you've been in this whole profession for 40 years, and you've seen from a time where there was considerable amount of access to journalists with players, but the avenues of coverage were very few. And now there's very little access, but the avenues of coverage have increased. So what would be that era or that period where you would say that you as a journalist enjoyed the most, where you had access as well, and you could see different kind of content and pieces be written by the whole journalism industry as a whole? What would you say was the best period for the sports journalism industry since the part you've been since the time you've been a sports journalist?
Before I became a journalist, I remember reading the newspapers. Long form writing was very popular. There were features, the very analytical writing before I became a journalist. And then, of course, in the 90s, 80s, of course, it progressed. We all learned. 90s and then 2000, um, uh, it changed. Journalism went through a huge change. If you ask me, it was good to be journalist because you had access to them, and without see access, Gurkirat gave you uh, helped you understand the player, helped you understand the game. Because I can tell you, before the season, I would sit with very senior umpire. Earlier we had Mr. Rajan Mehra and then Mr. S.K. Bansal. So I would make it a point before the season to have a session with them to understand that how they are going to approach their umpiring, what are the changes, and what are the areas they will be looking at. Because umpires are ones who understand the game very well, and they are watching every ball, so they're always involved. So it helps to get their views for you to improve. So that was one. And then I never missed an opportunity to spend my time with the players. Administrators, yes, but to understand the perspective a player gives. See, you are a journalist, you are sitting in the press box, you're watching the game very minutely, fair enough, but you are not always watching it and understanding it as beautifully or as importantly or as accurately as the player on the field. So you learn with your conversations. That's what I used to do. I would be lucky. There were not just me, there are many like me who would be sitting with the players and watching the game. And not always from the dressing room, but the area near the dressing room where they would come out and sit and watch. So you could chat about the game that was going on. And there were times when one has chatted with the next batsman who would be going in, because you are sitting on a chair and he just picks up a chair and comes and sits with you and he's watching the game and he's chatting with you. So he is relaxed. You feel as if you are part of the game, because the next batsman who is going to go is sitting with you and chatting. So those were fantastic times, Gurkirat. And we were also, please let me tell you, we were also welcomed by the administrators and the players. They wanted us to come to the ground. They would give us good facilities to sit and watch, to send match reports. Some places they would organize fax machines at the ground. So that was an era where journalists were widely and hugely respected, and we benefited in the company of the players and the administrators.
That's great to know. You talked of facilities in the stadium. I'm sure that the facilities for the press box, may have improved over the years. But as someone who's gone to the stadiums recently, I still feel that a lot of Indian stadiums don't understand and realize that fans are somewhere the biggest stakeholder in every sport, and hence I feel that the amount of work that should be put in to the facilities that the fans have isn't enough. Even if you look at a Firosha Kotla or other stadiums in the city. One stadium I think which has stood out in that respect is the Kalinga Stadium in Bhubaneswar. So what do you think? Do you think stadiums overall have improved the facilities for spectators, or is there still a long way to go on that front?
Lovely question, Gurkirat. There has been a major transformation as far as infrastructure is concerned. Sorry, not just for us, essentially for the players. The playing field has improved. There is a dramatic change in the quality of pitches they play on. The dressing room area is very is a big improvement on what we used to say. Some Ranji Trophy matches I have seen, dressing rooms would be makeshift tent rooms, right? So, but they never complained. Honestly, they never complained. And traveling has improved. The hygiene part of at the ground when the food is cooked has improved. So these are changes which have come only because the BCCI became cash rich and decided to pump money back into the game by improving the infrastructure, by increasing the match fee of the players, giving them good accommodation, decent accommodation. So these were all this has helped the game. All this has helped the players also to improve their approach to the game. Their mindset has changed immensely as far as playing the game and honoring the officials is concerned. So all these are interconnected. But the best part is that yes, when you go to watch a match today, whether you are going to a cricket game or a football match or a hockey match, even badminton, if you see the infrastructure has gone an exceptional transformation, and you feel like you're watching the sport in the best of conditions.
Even for the fans, even for the fans.
Yes, even for the fans. I'll tell you, when you there are many stadiums where the fans are respected. You go to Bangalore, you see Mumbai, you see Kolkata. Kolkata, I am seeing numbered seats many years ago in general stands, and they sit and watch comfortably. You look at venues like Indore now, which is among the new ones. Indore is a fantastic cricket stadium, and they respect the cricket fan by not overselling tickets. And it cannot happen that you go to the stadium in Indore and get disappointed. Gurkirat, if they allow spectators to come and watch practice matches, practice sessions of the players, and I have seen myself literally the section where the players are participating, that which would be half the stadium packed to watch practice session. Can you imagine? And I have seen most of them are students who would come, so their bags are not allowed, so they will keep their bags in a queue outside the stadium. And when they go back, they would still find their bags there. They're not stolen. So, which means the fans also respect each other. I mean, can you do this in Delhi? Leave all your bags outside the stadium, go and watch the practice session inside. Bags would be gone by the time you come out. So
Okay.
I love that idea. Yeah, I loved it. And I remember I did a story, spoke to a few of them. They said, no. He says, there is no, we don't fear that our backpacks will be gone when we come back, because they don't do it. So such venues are a big tribute to the fans who feel welcome, like I said. And Indore is my favorite. If you believe me, Mohali, again, good facilities, open ground, good washrooms, there is good eateries, and similar to Indore. Indore is, to me, today probably the best cricket stadium in terms of comfort and in terms of access, and also in terms of watching the game. Unhindered view. Wherever you sit, it is, and there is no block which is going to stop you from watching the action. No tower. So it's an ideal cricket stadium in the country.
I see. Never had the chance to go to the Holkar Stadium in Indore, so hopefully I will. But from my experience, I had the good fortune of visiting the Kalinga Stadium. I was very impressed with the facilities there and how the stands were, and very particularly impressed about the passion that people had in Odisha for hockey. Jam-packed stadiums for hockey was something that I had seen for the very first time, and
Ah,
that is one experience I think I'll cherish for my lifetime, because we've seen
yes.
a lot of cricket stadiums, being full, but a hockey stadium being full and the team doing well was a different experience altogether. So,
Kalinga is a tribute to hockey, Gurkira. The state government has backed it, and then the people also come and watch. It is not that you build a stadium. People have to respect the sport by coming and watching it, which is what like you said, you would have seen in Bhubaneswar. It's the hub of hockey.
uh, so another now I want to ask you about a few particular, like, you've obviously covered a lot of sports. Which are your favorite memories of covering an event or a tournament? Say a cricket tournament that you will always remember, or say was the most fun of uh, covering the sport. A cricket tournament that you've enjoyed the most, a hockey tournament that you've enjoyed the most, a football. Like one tournament for each sport that you've enjoyed covering a lot over these years.
See, hockey. we would watch Nehru hockey tournament, right? And I particularly loved the junior section because that's where you would see the talent, and the coaches would feel happy, the players would feel happy because they have been featured in the Hindu newspaper or the Sports Star magazine. Similarly, in football, I loved.
Sir,
Okay. Yeah, I loved covering Nehru hockey at the Shivaji Stadium, Gurkirat, because one, it got the best of players to Delhi, and especially I loved the junior section because there you could watch the upcoming talented players, and there were many of them. So you would get a sense of satisfaction that you would have written about somebody in 1986, and 4 years later you would find that boy playing for the country, right? So it's not that he would have played for the country because I wrote. It was just it would make me happy that yes, I have watched this boy when he was trying to come up. So similarly in football, there was this Durand football tournament in Delhi, a very iconic football tournament, one of the oldest tournament in the world, and it would have the giants of Indian football coming and playing at the Ambedkar Stadium. So in about 20 days or so, you would have seen the cream of Indian football. Also, there was the DCM tournament, which invited foreign teams also, but Durand had an exceptional quality. It was, you could not miss a match. You could not miss a match in Durand. And then the Ranji Trophy matches. The Ranji Trophy matches going to small centers, right? And making new friends in the officials or with the players. So that was some of the best moments I have known in my sporting reporting career. And some of the games, if you say, yes, there was one particular, uh, I would say the Kolkata Test match 2001 was epic. The tied match, the 99 World Cup between South Africa and Australia, watching the match and landing the report in good time. That was a big challenge for me because time difference was really very stressful. And then tours to Australia, especially enjoyable because they gave you enough time to write. I mean, there was no time pressure to write quickly, but I never left the venue without having sent my report, despite the huge time difference. I mean, I could have gone back to my room, taken a wash, slept, woken up, and then written my report. It would have been much, much ahead of time, but I never did that. I never left the venue without finishing my work. So, tours to New Zealand were fantastic because of the sporting culture they show. They are a great sport-loving country. New Zealand also and Australia. So those were some of my moments, and then of course Gurkira, meeting, getting to meet Gary Sobers in Barbados, getting to meet Viv Richards at Antigua, and his their places. So those were some very memorable moments for me.
now you mentioned that you've gone to overseas tours as well. So say that, just asking about a scenario. Say there's a unknown player like a debutant or has done well. So say if an Indian debutant has done well, do you someone who's from the Indian media contingent, do you share notes with say other journalists who are from different countries, because they wouldn't actually would have seen a young Indian player, or vice versa. Say if a overseas player, young player has done well and you don't know much about. So is there a practice that also journalists share some notes with each other, or help out, or is everyone's pretty much on their own?
No, we do help out. I mean, that was the best part of journalism in my era. There was never a competition, believe me. I mean, there were times when I would have we would have edited each other's copy. Like I have a dear friend, Manoj Vatsayana. He would finish his work, quickly show me his copy, and then he would send his copy, and then I would finish my report, and ask him to go through, edit my copy once. So that was the camaraderie we had, and it is there even today also. Today's youngsters, they help out each other. They don't really compete because there is not, what is there to compete? I mean, their access is limited, right? And so what they do is they look to report differently a match. Lightning, sorry, I got distracted. There is for them the challenge is to come together, share quotes. Like I'll tell you, what they do is during test matches, they take turns to transcribe quotes and share with each other, which is a very good, practice. One day, one newspaper reporter will transcribe, others will relax. So they take turns, they share information, they have their own exclusive stories. So that was the case with us also. We would go out together, go to the ground together, go out for dinner after the games together. So we forged fantastic friendships. I have some of my best friends from the fraternity, from all the traveling we did together. So we looked after each other, cared for each other. So those were great days, and I mean unforgettable.
Does sound very exciting, and it sort of do tells you that you may not be playing the sport, but when you're covering the sport, you sort of tend to follow the same virtues and the values which make for a very successful sports person or a sports team. Now, sir, one thing that you mentioned previously, and I want to talk about this because a lot of people in my generation would relate to this. When we were in school, Sports Star used to be the number one sports magazine, and more than people reading it or like youngsters like me reading it, we always used to be excited as to who's going to be on that poster, who's
Yeah.
going to be on that poster. And there used to be, I don't know if you've heard this from others, but there used to be this fight that who will get their hands on the sports star in the library, take out the poster, put it in their pocket and put it back, or so
Yeah.
who was the one who came up with that idea of the poster? That is one. And how did you used to decide that which athlete would come on the poster? Because it was never cricket centric. I remember there, I collected three or four posters. One was Adam Gilchrist, one was Maria Sharapova. I think there was Nadal once. So I just want to know what was the thought process behind coming up with that idea. That is one. And how would you decide who gets to be on that poster? Because it used to be once a month thing.
Yes, there was. See, it was a team, and it how it helped was that we had K.N. Anand, who was an absolutely brilliant sports writer, and he was not cricket centric. He knew cricket as good as anybody else, but he was a multi-event writer. He would be more interested in Olympics, the sporting side of it. Then we had Nirmal Shekhar. You must have read him. He was another, probably the best sports writer we have known. Then we had Mr. Tyagarajan, the great hockey correspondent. And then behind the scenes, we had two gentlemen, P. Krishnan and Vijayan. So this was the team. They would sit and discuss the cover stories. They would discuss the poster, and the poster was often related to very recent performances. If Gurkirat would have won an event at Wimbledon, or maybe he would have won the Wimbledon or a Grand Slam event, I mean, or maybe an athletics event or a football, done well in a football match. So they would discuss and pick those posters. And those days, Gurkirat, if you remember, there was television was not there. It was not television presence was not as huge as today's. So posters were a great source of collection, and it brought you very close to the player when you would take the poster out and paste it on your walls in your this thing. So it was an integral part of the magazine, and they were very, and the pictures were fantastic. If you remember, amazing pictures we used to get, and the printing quality of Sports Star was so good. Sometimes you would feel as if the athlete is just going to come out of the pages, and he would be there in front of you. So that was a process which was gone through by these five people, and of course the sports editor, Mr. Krishnan, was there. He had a fantastic eye for pictures, and also the fact that he could make the right choice of who would be featured on the cover of the magazine, right? Interview of the week, who they wanted, and like I said, the poster. The poster was a big attraction. Yes.
No, one thing I completely agree with you, that there wasn't as much television coverage, because I remember ESPN Star and along with Ten Sports used to be these two media houses, but they only had uh, two or three channels. Like today's Star has probably more than 10 channels.
You know, Gurkira, the players were very keen that they should be featured in the Sports Star. Either poster, there used to be a single page photograph also, if you remember,
Yes, yes, yes.
page three,
Yep.
and then the cover. So they would often come and ask us कि हमारा कब छपेगा poster, you know. So that would make us feel good, and we feel important also, because players wanted to be featured in the sports star. So that would make us very important. But those were very different times.
Must be, it's probably, the biggest praise that the whole network can get, when the who's who of the sports world are coming and asking ki hamara kab chapega, and well, we'll be there. So
Huh?
I'll
Yeah.
continue from what I was saying. There only used to be three or four channels, and I used to remember sometimes, if a cricket game is happening, the channel would cut off the coverage of some other sporting event which is probably not India related, and then you'll get to see the highlights. So I remember when I was growing up, my major source of information to sports was the sports section in newspapers. I would read all the three or four pages. But now, now what you see is it's become more and more video and conversation oriented. And I sort of feel that, written journalism or writing in journalism, whether be it sports, political, or any field of journalism, I think it's gone down considerably, and it's revolved more to do with sports. Even if you see Crick Info, which is probably the biggest cricket website, even in the last 6 7 years, they have focused more on doing the videos. Why do you think that has come in? Do you think it's because the attention span of the generation and people has come down, or do you just think that videos are much more appealing and easier to consume?
I think you have a point there, Gurkirat. I think the reading span, right? People are in a tearing hurry, and they probably a video appeals to them more. They feel more close and attached to Gurkirat if he's there sitting and interacting on a Zoom platform than getting to read about Gurkirat in a newspaper, because doesn't tell me how he speaks, how he reacts, how he moves, but video does it in the case of for sportsman. And there you don't need an effort. You can be you even if you are not able to read, at least you can see and you can understand, so that brings you closer. It's a very different section where you have people who may not be reading newspapers, but they watch the video and they watch television interviews. But it is very sad. My only complaint is with today's newspapers is that the domestic sport has vanished from from the newspapers, and local sport though has completely vanished. I mean, it's a matter of great pride, I should say, that the Hindu continues to give importance to local sport in Delhi, and there's Deccan Herald newspaper in the south in Bangalore, which gives due importance to local sport. There is New Indian Express in Chennai. They also give due importance to local sport, mind you, and domestic sport, national level, which is featured. And in Kerala, the Malayalam newspapers are exceptionally good because they cover school sport. They give importance to sport happening in schools. So that is their contribution to their service to sport, actually. If you write about a school child and doing well in a school competition. So these are the things which are missing in today's newspaper. And I feel sad when I see no mention of domestic sports in on the sports pages. There is more about the the player than about the game. I hope you understand. It's they're writing more about Gurkirat because he plays hockey, but there is very little about hockey. So that is the difference I see.
You make two very good points. One is the service to the sport itself. We have always, I think in the last 10-15 years I have heard this a lot, that people keep talking about there isn't a sporting culture in India. And when people sit down to analyze it, they will come down to the administration not doing enough, which is in a way true. But what you may say is a very good point, because when you promote a local level talent in a newspaper, you are sort of encouraging those people to come and play and make a name for themselves. So that is probably as important as, if not more, then probably as important as the administration doing enough. And in fact, if they do sort of make it a point or a habit to cover the local sport, maybe who knows that they'll be able to point out the loopholes as well. So you make an excellent point that this is something that all newspapers should look to be doing. The other, which you said, that they talk about the sports person more than the sport, I think it's now becoming a very regular practice, where it's not even just about the sports person. It's coming to the point where the sports person's family and other personal stuff is sometimes given too much importance than what it should be. The focus on the game is probably not as much. What do you think?
Yeah, you're right. And see, for me, I'll tell you, I still have clippings of matches when I played and did well. My name was featured in the newspapers. I have some headlines also of my performance. So how much it would mean for, say, a school student who would have done well for his school, scored maybe 2 goals to help his school team win, and just got into school football or a hockey tournament, and next day he doesn't find any mention. So that is disheartening. You're playing a big tournament, there is a tournament, and you find next day there is no mention of your performance. So it is natural for me to have a poor opinion of the sports pages, and that is what is happening. Domestic players, they don't get features. There is so much of all this Virat Kohli and Rohit Sharma and Bumrah. Fair enough. I mean, they should find mention. But what about the local players? What about the domestic players? I mean, why can't they be featured? Why can't they be written about? So there, I think newspapers are being very unfair, and the argument is, कौन पढ़ता है उनको उनके बारे में? अरे, how do you know it is not? कौन पढ़ता है means what? The if an individual has done well, you never know what that one moment of his name appearing in the newspaper can make to his life, to his career. Right. So I don't agree with this. If we have a duty to perform, I think as newspapers, you can always fix a corner. You can say, okay, domestic sport will be featured in this corner, and then you have your write-ups. You have so much of foreign sport you write. You don't have to carry those huge reports because they are all available on the internet. It is the domestic sport which is not available on internet. That is what you have to highlight.
Very good point, sir. Now, moving a little personal, you've written two books in recent times. You wrote one on Virat Kohli. You've written one on Rohit Sharma. Are you in the process of writing another one on some other sports person, if not a cricketer?
No, not on a cricketer as of now, because I definitely I will be working on a book on which will essentially highlight cricket watching career, my reporting career, or like we discussed, all the changes that have come in the sport, in the profession, and so many anecdotes I have from my traveling, and not just about cricketers. Good Kirat, I will be writing about umpires. I will be writing about the scorers and so many ground staff people I have known all my life. The curators, they are an integral part of the sport, and nobody writes about them. So that will be. I would love to highlight these characters who have served the sport behind the scenes. I mean, they remain unsung heroes. The curator, the scholar, right? And in some cases, I have known people who man the manual scoreboard. They have had, the entire life they have spent doing that. So they also have their memories and anecdotes to share. So that is what I will be concentrating on.
I just hope that whenever you come out with that book, you're able to give me a signed copy. But you make a good point about the ground staff, the curators, the scorers not being covered enough. In fact, even though I followed cricket for the last 15, 16 years, the only one name that I can come up with when it comes to curator is Mr. Diljit, who was the head curator of the pitch in Mohali, and then was made the head
Yeah.
curator for BCCI. So you make a very good point that apart from him, I don't know if a lot of people can name other curators in the country. So yes, they definitely do
Correct.
deserve that appreciation. So I think with this we'll end. I really enjoyed the chat, sir, and I think I've learned myself a lot about the sport that I thought that I knew about. I hope others will also gain something out of it. And yeah, so it was great once again. We do tend to hear a lot about stories of sports persons, but we really don't get to hear a lot about the stories behind those people who bring us those stories. So I think this one episode can be dedicated to it. And really can't thank you enough for coming to the show. And hopefully you enjoyed it, and hopefully people will like it as well.
Yes, yes, Gurkirat. I loved speaking to you, speaking with you. We have met earlier also at different platforms, discussing IPL, and I've always marveled at your amazing recollect of IPL games. I don't know how you do it, and how you so closely follow, and you're able to remember the names. I can't. Honestly, I can't. But before I go, I would only request from my side, and to all the youngsters, that don't just watch sport on television. If you get an opportunity, go to the ground, because ground will give you the pulse and the love and the feel of the sport, which television will not give you. Television gives you very limited, what should I say, vision. If you When you go to the ground, you see the entire ground in front of you, and you watch every movement of the player. So please, if you want to learn the game, you have to go to the ground. Even if it is a club match, you will learn so much from the club match, and not just always watching television.
Well, not much to say after the man who's covered different sports over the last 40 years has spoken. So I leave these thoughts as the last thought, and take your leave. Do tune in for the next show as well, and we'll thank Mr. Vijay Lokupalli sir once again, and hope that his next book comes out soon enough, and hopefully I get a signed copy. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, yeah.
It was
You will.
great.
You will.
It was great doing this. Hopefully, you'll all tune in again. Thank you.
Thank you, Gurkira. Thank you. Thank you.